Now, every guy in here has got some weak points. There are some things you do that maybe are inconsiderate or whatever, and you need to work on those. I'm not excusing any of those. But wives, it's not going to help if you constantly point out all of your husband's failures and weaknesses. You need to use the reverse psychology. You know, an enemy attacks the foe at the weakest point. But an ally protects his friend at the weakest point. So you've got to decide, are you going to be your husband's enemy or ally? And will you protect his weakness or will you attack him? I got to be honest with you. Darla and I will have been married 38 years this Friday. And in all of that time, I have maybe sometimes pointed out I've used her as illustrations, I confess. But in 38 years of marriage, she has never one time pointed out one of my weaknesses in public. Do you understand how much that means to me? She is my closest friend, and not one time in 38 years has she betrayed that friendship. Guys, it's back to you. Point number 2 for guys. Emphasize your wife's best qualities.
My wife sure doesn't like to cook, but she is a great teacher.
That's how Darlene spends most of her evenings. You may think that school teachers teach 9 months a year, get 2 weeks off for vacation and spring break and all this kind of stuff. But she comes home every night after dinner, sits at the table, and works on papers or plans until it's time for bed. She is a tremendous teacher, and I remind her of that very often. Verses 10 and 11 of chapter 1, emphasizing your wife's best qualities. Solomon says, your cheeks are beautiful with earrings, your necks with strings of jewels. We will make you earrings of gold studded with silver. Wow. Started to bring a cartoon and decided against it, but the typical man gets up in the morning and his hair's going in 1,000 different directions. He's got this growth all over his face. His eyes are matted together. And he's standing there, his guts hanging over, and he's saying, wow, man, I'm handsome. My wife is lucky to have me, in a bowl of cereal, and he's out there ready to wow the world. And the wife, she gets up 30 minutes before you do or an hour before you do. She looks in the mirror and she begins the cleansing and she begins the patting and the makeup and the liner and the lipstick, and she spends another 30 minutes doing her hair, and she takes on and off the earrings, getting just the right color, and then she stands there looking at every angle and she says, oh, I'm too pudgy. I'm too skinny. The shadow's too much. It's too little. I'm too tall. I'm too short. She's just questioning what she looks like. She knows she's not perfect. And I guess I want to say this in as strong a way as possible. I hate guys who point out to their wives their obvious flaws. How many women do you know that really don't already realize they're not a perfect 10? And yet somehow we guys think that we can let ourselves go and look like, I don't know what. But we're constantly at our wives. And she knows that she's not perfect, but she doesn't want you to tell her that she's not. Tell her the things about her that really stand out. Tell her the things that you truly admire. And wives, I want to challenge you. As you go home today, I want you to turn to your husband before you get home, and I want you to ask him, Nita, say to Bill, Bill, honey, what is my best quality? And if Bill has to say, well, I don't know, let me think about it, then kick him out of the car. So guys, you've been forewarned. You need to know what your wife's best quality is. And let me think about it is not going to be the right answer. And whatever you do, don't compare your wife to another woman. I don't care whether you do it in a positive way or a negative way. Say, well, honey, you're pretty. You're much prettier than Jane. She says, oh, Lord, you just compared me to Jane. She's the ugliest woman in the church. So you can't win at that comparison thing, guys. So you just end with, you're pretty. Stop right there. Your wife wants to know what you think, and she wants you to say it. So if she asks you today, why do you love me? Why do you think that I stand out from all other women? You better have an answer. Women, here's your second point. Put your husband in his place. See, when David works with me on these points in terms of preparing them for Sunday morning, and Jason is doing the video work and everything, they both made an assumption that when I said, put your husband in your place, that it was going to be a negative thing. Usually when we talk about putting someone in their place, it's a demotion of some kind. It's about dropping down in attitude. And some of you wives were probably thinking, all right, I get to go home and tell my little twerp of a husband that the preacher said I should put him in his place. And the preacher did say put him in his place. But here's what verse 4 says. He has taken me to the banquet hall, and his banner over me is love. Remember the story of Queen Esther? She wanted a favor from the king, and so she called for an audience. And when she appeared before the king, he loved her so much that he said to her, I don't care what it is you're about to ask me. You can have anything you want, up to half of the kingdom. And you know what she did? She said, all I want to do is to have a banquet in your honor. Wow. She said, I want to treat you like the powerful king that you are. I want to treat you as the person to whom I am accountable. I want to treat you as the sovereign of this nation. Come to a banquet. When's the last time, women, you treated your husband like a king? I mean, my wife's never going to bring me the newspaper and hand me a Diet Coke. That just is not going to happen. But there are other ways that she can treat me like a king. And wives, it's important that you treat your husband as the head of your family, as the king of your kingdom. Men, treat your wife like she's your girlfriend. When I was dating Darlene, I almost said courting Darlene, and boy, that would have really aged me, wouldn't it? But when I was dating Darlene, I mean, it was nothing at all for me to show up with a box of chocolates because she loves chocolates, or some flowers, or something like that. And now that we're married, I don't remember to bring the chocolates enough. I don't remember to bring the flowers quite often enough.